Nice.
This review is brought to you by Netflix. Here we are at the inauguration of a new console generation, and with it comes Knack, the PS4 exclusive that Mark Cerny has been hyping up for months now. So, how is the full game? Let's find out.
Well, Knack, let the adventure begin. I can't wait.
As one of the few first-party PS4 launch titles, Knack has a lot to live up to. Its similarities to popular Sony franchises like Crash Bandicoot and God of War make it poised to become the next big series, but is it capable of doing so? In many ways, the answer is yes. It has an interesting mechanic, a lovable central character, and an action-adventure quality reminiscent of classic beat-em-ups. But, like most highly anticipated titles, the game is not without its problems.
No!
Mark Cerny has likened Knack to a Pixar film, which is a pretty generous comparison. Aside from the obvious cartoonish resemblance, the story is pretty standard video game fare. A war is raging between goblins and humans, and our first line of defense is Knack, a sentient being composed entirely of ancient relics that have binded together to create something far more powerful than the sum of their parts. Knack's ability to grow tall and shrink down to small sizes is the distinguishing gameplay element here, and one you'll frequently refer to throughout the campaign.
You call it Knack, is that right?
Actually, I call myself Knack.
Alongside this adorable pile of junk is a ragtag team of characters with ancillary connections to the storyline and very little personality beyond that. You can clearly see the tone that the developers were aiming for, but without strong characters to back it up, it's hard to care at all about the story. The dialogue is cheesy and unabashedly cliché, with all the puns and one-liners you'd expect from a B-grade DreamWorks film.
Guess we'll have to settle that score later.
The voice acting is also strangely inconsistent, with personalities that just don't seem to fit the characters.
I'd never have guessed.
The thoroughly mundane story is thankfully tempered, however, by an undeniably fun mixture of action platforming and classic beat-em-up combat. It's a simple system with one attack button and 3 combo moves, but the approach is all about strategy. Knack's only weapon is himself, so his power has to come from his size, which grows by collecting shards of ancient relics. And because his size is directly tied with his life bar, the game incentivizes you to avoid damage. The smaller you get, the less powerful you become. Likewise, Knack can get so big that he tramples over enemies with ease, leading to what are undoubtedly the game's most rewarding moments. If there's one thing Knack gets right, it's the inexplicable pleasure of Godzilla-level power. Occasionally, Knack can incorporate outside materials like ice, wood, and metal to form a shield against enemies, which slowly disintegrates when exposed to the elements.
Oh yeah.
He can also shrink down to his most basic form, glass, to bypass security beams and fit through tight spaces. These elements add a fun twist to the game, but they're not a hugely significant part of it. Most of your time will be spent as regular-sized Knack, which is good for players who want a challenge. If you've read any of the hands-on previews of Knack, then you've probably heard one consistent thing about it, which is that it's extremely difficult. And while I would say it is difficult by most video game standards, and particularly those that seem targeted for a younger audience, I also think that a lot of that difficulty can just be chalked up to beginner's curve, because your success in the game really hinges on the different enemy types, learning their behaviors, and knowing exactly how to deal with each kind. The vast array of enemy types is easily Knack's most impressive quality. Every level is packed with dozens of different enemies, each with their own unique behaviors and weapons. Even the most innocuous ones can kill Knack in less than 2 hits, and many of them move so quickly that it's imperative to have a plan of action. The boss fights are particularly enthralling, posing a daunting challenge that may seem impossible at first, but is solvable with perseverance and some good old-fashioned trial and error.
So slow, Knack.
Because it is a first-party launch title, Knack will inevitably be judged by its graphics, which is one area of the game in which the developers clearly played it safe. Obviously, a cartoonish art style is going to be less impressive than a super realistic battlefield splattered with blood, so those of you looking for the best possible demo of next-gen graphics probably won't find it here. What you will find are beautifully designed environments that get significantly more intricate as the game progresses. The levels are also well designed and just the right length, with plenty of collectibles to keep you distracted. Sunstones, which are yellow crystals Knack can smash to fill up his energy bar, allow him to perform deadly combo moves on multiple enemies at once. It's an extremely satisfying and somewhat infrequent occasion that's unfortunately all too easy to accidentally trigger. The maps also contain a number of hidden entrances, leading to treasure chests of untold riches. Knack can find item parts and piece them together to form devices, imbuing him with special powers. Collect enough crystal relics, and you can replay the game as a variant form of Knack. Although, even with diligent collecting, it's hard to find enough items to create anything on your first playthrough. This is one aspect of the game that was clearly designed to promote replayability.
Hey, let's go take a closer look, huh?
After completing the 10-hour campaign, players unlock a time attack mode with 7 different challenges that must be completed in 5 minutes or less. This is in addition to 3 Colosseum attack stages where you face off against increasingly deadly rounds of enemies. These extra modes are a nice afterthought to the campaign and really not much more than that. Their repetitive nature wears on you pretty quickly, and the relatively small amount of stages means you likely won't spend more than a couple hours on them. Co-op, on the other hand, is a wonderful addition to the game and something that greatly increases its replay value. A second player can drop in at any time and assume the role of Robo-Knack, a tiny metal Knack who can engage in combat and heal his partner with the press of a button. This is a great option for beginners or young children who want to play but are intimidated by the game's difficulty.
But I can tell you love to destroy things.
At the end of the day, it's hard not to have mixed feelings about Knack. There are aspects of it that I absolutely adore and parts of it I hate. But if Sony decided to expand it into a franchise one day, I would be 100% okay with that because the framework is damn solid. It's fun, it's challenging, and even with its problems, there's a certain weird charm that just grabs you. Knack gets a 3 out of 5. If you're looking for something else to do with that shiny new PS4 of yours, then why not check out Netflix? With Netflix, you don't need a cable subscription. You can instantly stream your favorite shows and movies directly to your home with just an internet connection and a Netflix-enabled device. For a limited time, you can grab a free trial membership and support Rev3 Games in the process by signing up at netflix.com/Rev3Games. So that is Knack, the long-anticipated PS4 launch title, depending on who you talk to. I would say that this was kind of a hard game to give a score to because it does sort of straddle the line between 3 and 4. So I would say it is more of a high 3, but as usual, try to focus more on the words in my review and less on the number at the end. Just a quick plug before I head out. I wanted to tell you guys about a new show that I have called Hard Science over on the Test Tube Network. It is a show that I do with Anthony Carboni, who you may know from other Rev3 Games videos, and it's kind of like Mythbusters meets Bill Nye with a dash of Temptation Island and maybe a little bit of Pimp My Ride as well. It's amazing, and I'm really proud of it, and you should all go watch it so I can tell my mom to stop sending me nursing school pamphlets. The address for that is youtube.com/hardscienceshow. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.